Hello and welcome everyone to the Solo Multimedia Podcast where I give you my unfiltered take straight off the cuff. And today I'm going to be talking about a video game called Sayonara Wild Hearts. I feel like this game's gone a little bit under the radar to some extent. It's an indie game, so it's not like, a big AAA release or anything like that that loads of people should really be aware of. But when I say it's gone under the radar, I feel like it's almost talked about less than it probably should be based on the one short playthrough I've had. So essentially what this game is, it's a kind of odd, almost like rhythm-based endless runner, I guess. So you kind of like control a character on a variety of different like vehicles or just running or whatever. And you're running down a track, and there's a bunch of like things that pop up that you can collect for points. Essentially, that's what the whole game's based around. And occasionally, you'll have like a rhythm-based, like timing prompt, basically. But the way the game works is the whole thing is essentially, I guess the best way to put it is it's a bunch of levels strung together to form a kind of allegorical story that really could be interpreted in a lot of different ways. But the whole thing is based around an album that was, I don't know if it was made for the game or if the game was made for the album, but maybe it was just sort of like a collaborative thing, I'm not sure. But either way, it's like a really, really kind of like colourful, eclectic, kind of electronic pop album, ultimately. It feels like a bit of a love letter to pop in a lot of ways, because you get a kind of wide range of different influences, sounds, and genres, and that kind of stuff, which is always really cool to hear. But I think one of the things I enjoyed most about this game is its sense of style. The whole thing is very, very fluid and oozing cool at all times. So, like, in a lot of ways, it's quiet anime, which is just kind of hilarious. You'll have like these kind of the bosses that you meet throughout the game are kind of almost like groups of masked people, and they'll throw like their tarot cards. So every level it has like a tarot card associated with it. They'll throw their tarot card at you or whatever, and it will turn into a sword, which you then grab to fight them while they get into a giant wolf mech or something. Like, it's all very over the top and kind of like exaggerated in a kind of comedic way. But it's got a good sense of like flow to the whole thing. It really doesn't outstay its welcome. The whole game is, you can play it in like, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half. It's like a very short game. But I think the real draw to the replayability, which is there, it's not just like a one and done type thing, is the score attack portion of the game. But ultimately, if you don't enjoy, like what it is, you won't want to replay it, right? So I guess it's kind of almost a redundant statement to some extent. But either way, I think the real selling point of the game is the fact that the album is pretty good for the most part. I think it's got a lot of really cool tracks on it. Aesthetically, not just in the kind of like the oozing cool and very anime almost like aesthetic it has going for it. Also in just like the actual color palette they use, the like types of font they use and all that kind of stuff. The whole thing just has a really, really kind of impressive, bombastic sense of style that I can respect a lot. It goes for a lot of those kind of like, I would almost describe this as in kind of that synthwavy part of the artistic world, but it's not quite at that. It's like a lot. It's a lot more pink and less like LA hazy. It's almost more, I don't want to say cell shaded, but it's got like a more cartoony aesthetic to it, which works. The graphics are like very, very simple and basic. Like, you can pretty much see the polygons on each of the models, but it, for what it's trying to do, it works really well. It actually, I think, has quite a timeless look about it, which is really cool. Yeah, so that's pretty much everything I want to say, honestly. It's like not a particularly long game. If you're looking for something to, I don't know, kill like an hour and a half, and then if you end up really, really enjoying it, you can go back and do the score attack stuff. There's like little extra things as well, like it has a section for riddles, which is just strange. I don't know what they unlock or anything. I didn't bother doing any of them, but there's just a bunch of riddles that I assume require you to do something in each of the levels. So if you want to work those out, I'm sure that adds like an extra dimension to the gameplay, because it's forcing you to play the game in a unconventional way. I'm actually really enjoying the score attack side of things, to be honest. So like each level has a ranking system. It's just bronze, silver, gold, very, very simple. But basically, if you get everything golded, if you do all the levels in gold, I should probably say how many levels there are, which is something that I honestly don't know. It's kind of, the levels are broken up kind of weirdly. Like, I would almost say one level is 3 smaller chunks. You have generally a level where you're traveling towards the current like boss. You have a level where you chase the boss in some way. and then you have the actual boss fight. That's kind of like the way the game is broken up, with like a big finale ending level. And overall, I think there's maybe, I don't know, I'd guess like almost 30 levels. That'd be my guess. But some of them are very short. So that might be, if you hear that and you're like, oh, that actually seems like a pretty significant game. It's really like not in terms of run length, but I think a lot of the appeal comes from the replayability and trying to get gold on each of the levels. At least that's what I'm doing right now. Once you get gold on all the levels, you unlock a new mode, which is something I don't know anything about, so that's exciting as well. But yeah, I think that's basically, like I said, everything I want to say about this game. It's just got a really cool aesthetic. It's really colourful and interesting. One thing I will say actually is the animations are shockingly good. Like, I was not expecting the animations specifically to be great, but the way all the characters move and attack and jump and all of that stuff just looks really great. It's like very eye candy-y in that sense. But yeah, that's basically, like I said, basically everything I want to say. I'd recommend it. I think it's a really cool game. Cheers for listening. Go give it a shot. It's only like 12 quid or something, so hopefully you'll enjoy it too. Yeah, peace out everybody.